Half the annoying part of this is like honestly just breaking up the cylinder. So I'm just gonna make this 50 millimeters long, and then I never stay with the 20. I'll stay with the 20. What the heck? So for the subdivisions, you just want to make this whatever. So I'm gonna say the hinge is basically gonna be like 5 pieces. So an outer pin going between like this, this, and this, if that makes sense. So like there'll just be like a little solid bit running through here, and then this will be the separate little hingey part that'll actually hang out between these pieces, if that at all makes sense. So actually, while I have these selected, I'm just going to go through and extrude those and set the little gimbal to work on component, so that way I can scale each one of these separately instead of having them all shrink down. So this is just going to be like a little tolerance. I'm not at all really paying attention to the tolerance of this, but I'm basically just going to cut out all of these little rings and murder those. So now we have the sort of basis of our hinge. So you have like, again, these little pieces, and then the other two. So I'm just going to do, if you do an edit mesh extract, it'll just suck those out of the original mesh. So it should leave you, okay. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, but it pulls out all the pieces separately. So just do a mesh combine on those. And then I'm gonna go through and I might actually, now grab all the edges, what the heck. Having indecision, all right. So just grab all these edges. I wanna like close the piece, and I can add the little pins at the same time. So I'll just extrude those. And again, since this is set to, my scale is set to component mode, it should just scale all of these holes in without like squishing them down. And at that point, I can just go through and like bridge these together. So just grab these 2 little pins, do an edit mesh bridge. Feel free to stop me with questions. I just sort of assume that like you guys probably know how to do this. I'm so not used to this mouse. All right. So bridge that, and now we have one part of our hideous little hinge. So what we need to do now is grab these other parts and then punch a hole, basically, for that little pin that I just made. And ideally, like I said, you'd actually pay attention to the size of these holes. This is probably going to be like really, really thin, but we're going to find out. So I'm just going to make sure that there's a little bit of space in between here. I don't want to go right up to the hole, or else the print is going to be solid and just sort of like attached together. So something maybe like this isn't completely ridiculous. And then, ooh, hello. I will go through and just bridge these together. This one I just want to be like 2 individual cylinders sort of on the inside. So I'll just do an edit mesh bridge on that. And on this. And now we have, you can kind of see the like 2 different little bits of the hinge. You guys with me so far? Cool. At this point, usually what I will do is I would like to print this flat, and doing that with rounded edges on the mesh is going to make things potentially difficult. So what I'm going to do is just go through and grab, say, all of these faces and just extrude them straight out to one side. This is going to be one side of my hinge. It's not a pretty hinge, but world blurp. All right, one side of hinge, and then we're gonna have to go back and like attach all of this crap together so that this is one piece, but later problems. And I will do the same thing on the other side of the hinge, but with that I will do the other parts of. I have been using the same mouse for years, and I like literally am apparently completely unable to function with a different one. All right, anywho. So I think I'm actually just gonna make this really ugly and just like not even care that this part isn't attached, but you can go ahead and attach them if you so choose. So I'm just gonna draw like a really quick little line with my multi-cut tool, not particularly paying attention to what I'm doing. Basically, I just want a little bit of tolerance. Oh my God. What if you stop selecting the faces? There. All right. So that way I can just sort of grab these faces here and then attach those together. So if I just grab this and this and this and deselect all these pieces, delete those faces, and do yet another bridge. Grumble, click. Edit mesh, bridge. We now have a very sad piece of part of a hinge. But you can kind of see, like, if you're looking at this from the bottom, it's pretty much completely flat, which is what allows it to be printed in place. That coupled with the size, so like I said, it kind of depends on how much you can bridge with your printer. So like, it's not going to be able to print support under this area, it's just going to have to extrude plastic and hope for the best. So if you're doing something like 5 inches long, this is not going to work. But for something small, like a little 2-inch hinge, you're probably fine. As long as you leave enough tolerance between this inner piece and this outer piece, the plastic should be able to, even if it like sort of droops and sticks a little bit, it'll sort of crack off relatively easily. Or at least that is what I am hoping for. I've actually printed one of these before. I've just, like, that design I actually tested. So same deal. And hurrah. I've had people, like, they actually have a bunch of these sort of files for print and place hinges on Thingiverse and such. Did you actually not slice my model? I dislike you. You guys knew if you press and hold shift while using the insert edge loop tool that it will sort of try to contour to the shape of your object, yeah? Was that a thing? Okay. Sometimes it works great, and sometimes it's just absolutely trash. But anywho. All right. All right, so we have our extremely horrific looking sad print and place hinge. Just purely for the sake of print efficiency, I'm going to shorten that slightly and export this. And we will slice that in Cura, and I'll show you how to change the nozzle really quick, and then we'll actually print this abomination that I've just created. Hinge. All right. So I'm actually going to slice this for a 0.6 millimeter nozzle, since that is what will be on this when I'm done with it. I'm trying to think of the best way to sort of keep track of what printer is running what size nozzle. I exported this incorrectly? I did. So if any of you guys have any ideas about that, I was thinking of just kind of like printing some little things that could be like hung on the printer that just say like 0.4 or 0.6, and then you just like put whatever one it is on the printer, if that makes sense. But open to suggestions about that. Because like obviously printing a 0.6 millimeter G-code with 0.4 millimeter nozzle will end poorly. All right, so I'm gonna set this to 0.6. Wall thickness, I'll leave it 1.8, that's fine. I'm gonna set the layer height to 0.2. And this is like one of those designs where you want to turn off pretty much all support everywhere, or like only have support from the build plate, otherwise it'll kind of break your stuff. Apparently this will take half an hour to print, but you can see, like, if you go into this, you can kind of see where that apparently extremely thin little pin that I made was. It's actually not that bad, but yeah, so I mean, you can see there's like enough tolerance where, like, here's my inner pin, and it's actually kind of nice because there's enough walls in that where it's pretty much solid, so that's going to make your hinge stronger. And then there's enough space where hopefully, if and when the bridging probably fails, it will sort of be enough space to like crack the hinge apart and use it. So I'm just going to kind of run this as is. Why not? Just going to make sure my temperature settings are correct. And I'll just save that eventually to the printer.